Tomorrow's elections will be important bellwethers on abortion rights looking ahead to 2024. But a new poll has national Democrats hand-wringing about President Biden's chances for re-election a year out. New York Times Siena College poll shows Donald Trump leading in 5 of 6 battleground states that candidate Biden won in 2020. In a statement, Biden's campaign noted that predictions more than a year out tend to look a little different than a year later, and that's true. In fact, in November 2011, the New York Times asked, is Obama toast, when President Obama was trailing in the polls? As we all know, he was handily reelected the next year. Joining me now to discuss is Cornell Belcher, Democratic pollster, strategist, and MSNBC political analyst, and Victor Shi, co-host of the iGen Politics podcast. Cornell, I will start with you. I am putting on my political scientist hat. I don't pay attention to any polls that take place more than 6 months out from an election. I think there's too much that can happen, but that's just me. What do you see when you look at these polls? When you've dug into the numbers, are you worried? Do you think this is going to be an issue for Biden a year out?
Well, there's a couple of things here. One, it is, to your point earlier, it is deja vu for me because, someone who was working on Obama re-election in 2012. In 2011, I was having these same conversations about then President Obama running behind Mitt Romney and being tied, as you might remember in some places, with Michelle Bachmann. So yeah, I have to take it with a grain of salt. What you do see in these polls, and this is the important part of these polls to me, is look, Donald Trump, we've seen in 2 past elections where Donald Trump's ceiling is. And if you look in the internals of these polls, he's about right now performing exactly the way he did in 2020. His support sticks with him. It's energized. It doesn't move. As he said, I could shoot someone and not lose any support. Apparently, you can also be indicted 90-some times and not lose any support. And that's what we're seeing. Newsflash. Almost every voter who voted for Trump is going to vote for him again. What you also see on the other end of this is what we saw on the Obama campaign, and this is why you build campaigns. It is Democrats are overly, well, I won't say overly, Democrats are really heavily dependent on younger voters and a younger, more diverse electorate. Barack Obama does not become president with about 11% of the electorate being new voters in 2008, and they look, disproportionately younger and more diverse electorate. That Obama continuum is really critical for them. So when you look at the numbers, I actually look in the internals of this poll and understand that Donald Trump is probably at his ceiling. Biden is probably at his floor, which I think is important and sort of campaign to build. And this is another piece of this I think is important is when I was actually heartened when I saw this number because they do have a sizable swath of regular sort of likely voting white voters. And you know where Biden is with white voters right now? He's at 39%. Why am I not worried? Why am I heartened by that? Right. Because as you and I both know, at max, he's going to get 41% of the white vote, right? So, exactly. So he's actually not far off of where his white vote is. But when you look in the internals where he's got to make up a lot of ground are not voters who are necessarily going to break for Donald Trump, but they're disillusioned, disengaged Democrats, just like we had in 2011. So I think he has a lot of work to do. So that's what I take from the polls.
All right, Victor, I'm going to take this to you because everybody is concerned about young voters. And what I am hearing when I talk to my students at Morgan State, when I look online, one of the things that young voters are concerned about, yes, they care about abortion. Yes, they care about student loans. But the conflict in Israel has also been something that seems like has become a drag on young voters. You literally got, what was it? I saw Swifties for Palestine and the Israeli government, people are asking Taylor Swift to get involved in an international conflict because they think it has some influence on young people. Where does the current international crisis play out when it comes to young voters? Are people still going to care? Are people under 30 still going to care in February? Or do you think this is sort of a temporary moment of frustration and people will come back to voting for Biden in 2024?
I mean, there is no question about that there is a lot of passion around this issue. I'm at UCLA, and there's a lot of people talking about this issue on campus. But here's what I think is going to be important for 2024. The contrast is, I think, is what's going to be really important. You have Joe Biden, who's listening to these communities. He this week he enacted two really important things, which is first combating anti-Semitism, but also establishing this first ever nationwide task force to combat Islamophobia. I think those things are going to be really important.
He did both. I want us to be clear. He did both. For those people who don't think that Joe Biden is doing something, yes, continue.
He did both. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is fanning the flames of hatred and division. He said, Hezbollah is, he praised Hezbollah. He also is anti-Semitic in many of his remarks on Truth Social. So I think that contrast will be really important. But here's what I'll add to what Cornell said. He was spot on, which is Joe Biden already built a coalition in 2020. He beat Donald Trump in 2020 with a younger base, with a more diverse base, and he's doing the work as we head into 2024. Vice President Harris is doing phenomenal work right now, going around to college campuses and really listening to young voters. And I think as we approach 2024, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to keep on doing that. They're going to fight hard to earn the votes of young voters and diverse voters, and that's what I think is going to be really important as we head into Election Day.
Cornell, so one of the other things that I look at heading into this campaign season is usually the kinds of bumps that we would expect. I don't know that I think those are going to happen this year. This is the first time in my lifetime, your lifetime, everybody here's lifetime, where we kind of already know who both of the nominees are going to be, right? Like half those Republicans are going to drop out if they even get to Iowa. We know Trump is going to be the nominee, even if he's, dressed like the Hamburglar in white and black stripes. I mean, the guy is still going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. So where are going to be the inflection moments polling-wise going forward? Because it's not going to be a big coronation when Trump gets the nomination. It's not going to be a big deal when Joe Biden gets the nomination. Where do you think the inflection points will be?
I'm not so sure there's going to be a lot of inflection points, but let me say this. Let me take a moment to say this. Look, it's nauseating hearing Democrats wring their hands about Joe Biden, because to a certain extent, I remember going in 2011 when people said Barack Obama shouldn't run for re-election. There was articles and op-eds being run saying Barack Obama shouldn't run for re-election. It is nauseating that this continues to happen from progressives, but it's also a point here where they underestimate Joe Biden.
Got to be quick, Cornell. Got to be quick.
He was right. He wasn't supposed to win. He wasn't supposed to win the primary. He did. He wasn't supposed to. He won the presidential election by 7-8 million voters, and he had a great midterm